was just, of course, talking about part of the reopening plan hinging on the availability of testing. And what we've heard is that the availability just isn't there yet. So I was really surprised to hear the Clinical Laboratories Association, the one representing companies like Quest and LabCorp, saying they've now eliminated their backlogs and have considerable capacity that's not in use. So these companies right now have capacity that they say isn't being used. Companies like Quest and LabCorp, for example, they say they can do 45,000 for Quest per day of these tests, LabCorp 65,000. BioReference Laboratories can do 20,000. They say they are at capacity right now and are trying to expand that. Meanwhile, you have universities like Rutgers with that new saliva test saying they can do 10,000 a day, Stanford at 2,000 a day. But if you just add these up, you're getting to about the number of the tests per day that the U.S. is doing, and this doesn't account for a lot of other tests coming from other places around the country. So there is capacity that isn't being used now. And if you look at a state-by-state breakdown of how many tests are being run, there is tremendous inequity happening. States on a per capita basis, like New York, Louisiana, Rhode Island, they are doing 2,700 tests per 100,000 citizens for New York. Other states like Texas, Virginia, and Kansas, they are not doing nearly as much. So guys, we are seeing this real inequity, these differences across the system, and a real shocking stat to hear that Quest Diagnostics and LabCorp might have capacity that's not being used right now, Wolf and Sarah.
So, Meg, what's the solution here? Is it to have some sort of federally organized testing system instead of letting the states go at it and private companies go at it on their own? Does it just need to be organized better?
I've heard a couple different potential solutions for this. One is that you at least need to have visibility on a national scale about where the supply is, where the capacity is, to be able to make sure that you're matching supply and demand so things can happen. There is a constraint on supplies of swabs and reagents, and so those need to be able to get to labs for them to be able to do the tests. Big companies like Quest and LabCorp don't seem to have those supply chain issues. They're managing them very closely, but the smaller labs, academic and hospital labs, they do have those issues. So certainly at least more visibility and some help coordinating on a national scale, everybody says, is needed.
And Meg, one other question, which is not quite on the capacity, but on the type of test. I mean, the U.S. doesn't have a universal test that's applied across all different companies and all different states, right? I mean, is that different when you go to countries like Germany that we've discussed before, have done this quite well, where they have a national healthcare system? Is it a universal test to where you kind of know the results are certainly comparable within that country?
That's a really good question. There are a lot of different platforms available in the United States. And of course, everything I was just talking about is the PCR test to detect current infection. And these antibody tests are also coming online. I'm not totally sure how it works in Germany, whether they have different tests in their system as well. So I'll check on that and get back to you. But these PCR tests done by the big national players, people do generally trust the results from those.